If you're a busy mom trying to figure out how to get meals on the table without cooking 3 times a day, this video is for you. Today, I'm walking you through my real life weekly meal prep system. Nothing fancy, nothing complicated, just simple, practical prepping that actually works during a busy week. We're prepping ground beef, chicken, breakfast items. This is all about prepping ingredients, not full meals, so you can mix and match all week. Let's get into it. Before we start cooking, let me explain why I do it this way. Instead of making full meals ahead of time, which we get tired of, or at least I do, I prep. I prep 3 to 4 proteins a week. Typically, well, always chicken, some sort of chicken, chicken thighs, chicken breasts, chicken tenderloins. Breakfast staples, so bacon and sausage, breakfast potatoes. This gives us flexibility. So during the week, I can quickly throw together tacos, bowls, pasta, breakfast plates in the morning. My kids get a hot breakfast every morning because we have the sausage and the bacon, all of that prepped ahead of time. Burritos, same ingredients, different meals. And the best part, no food waste. Here's what I picked up for this week. So I started off with some chicken drumsticks. They were on sale, so I thought it was a perfect time to pick these up. And that's another thing that really helps with this system is that when you're deciding on what protein to pick up, go ahead and choose whatever's on sale. So, for example, the drumsticks were on sale. So that was what the protein was. That's what I was going to prep and decide to make for dinner that week. I put it in a this handy dandy little thing that keeps it up. I know that it isn't necessary, but it really is nice to have. And then I can go ahead and marinate it with whatever I decide that I'm going to make these drumsticks with that week. I wasn't sure yet, and I didn't want to go ahead and do that without knowing 100% how I was going to use this. But the reason why I put it in here so that it's ready to go, I can put like barbecue sauce or teriyaki sauce. We actually did teriyaki, and I've never really done teriyaki sauce with the chicken drumsticks before, but it turned out so good. So all I did was season up the drumsticks in the bag, salt, pepper, just the typical. And then I put some teriyaki sauce, let that marinate, put it in an oven dish, pop it in the oven, and we had that for lunch with some white rice for the week and some veggies. And it was delicious. I've never actually done it like I said, but it came out perfect. Something else that we always or I always prep ahead of time is some sort of chicken. So chicken thighs or chicken breasts. Chicken breasts always turn out really dry for me. I don't know what I do wrong. I try and try, but for sure chicken thighs are so juicy and flavorful. I put the parchment paper at the bottom to reduce cleanup, and I go ahead and season it. It's just like a chicken seasoning that's really good. Season both sides, and then that we either grill up. My husband grills up on the grill, like on Sunday or Monday, or I'll put this in the oven. So this week, I went ahead and popped this in the oven for I put it in for about 25 minutes, and then I take it out, turn it, and put it in for about another 10 to 15 minutes. But it just depends on your oven. But that usually works for this chicken. I don't like to cook it too long because I don't want it to get dry, but it always comes out juicy every time. Now, potatoes, this is something I really try to prep every week at the beginning of the week. And this is a good side or a good base for many dishes. So if you can add potatoes, diced potatoes to bowls. Definitely it beefs up like when you're making breakfast, diced potatoes with eggs. So for breakfast one day a week, I like to chop up bacon and add some potatoes and egg, and it makes the egg go a lot further, makes it for a huge crowd. And I'll either now usually I do the russet. Sometimes I'll switch it up and I'll do the red potato and I'll dice it up, or the yellow, I think it's the yellow potato. I'm not sure what it's called. I know they're like yellow baby potatoes, and those I'll cube up as well. I really like the red or the yellow because then you don't have to peel them, because peeling is like the worst part about the whole potatoes. Again, potatoes is something I always do every week, but I'll switch it up. Sometimes we'll do baked potatoes, so I'll switch off. I'll have baked potatoes and I won't do as many. I like to do diced potatoes because, again, it's for breakfast, but I won't need as many if I decide to do like baked potatoes for the week. Now, I don't prep baked potatoes ahead of time. That's something easy. Like the sides are something I do usually day of dinner because that doesn't really take much thinking. Baked potatoes do take a long time to put to bake. So if it's a busy day, you guys have sports practice or anything like that, that might be a little bit tricky, but this is good like for the weekends. So I'll definitely have a potato dish, diced potatoes, and then I like to do mashed potatoes as well. That's also for another week. So again, use potatoes and switch off like one week red potatoes, the next week gold or yellow potatoes, then russet potatoes, and then go back again to the beginning. And you just rotate every week. Now, for the potatoes, one thing to keep in mind, so this, I decided to dice them this week. One thing to keep in mind is I do not cook them all the way. That I wait till the day of I'm going to cook. So, for example, potatoes usually take a while to cook in the oven. And I like to put in the oven because I am not going to stand there with a skillet frying up potatoes from beginning to end. I don't know how that, it's a lot harder to cook than you think. And I just don't have the patience for that at this season of my life. So I pop them in the oven, and I got this recipe from a YouTube, one of the big YouTube cooking gurus. And so she said to obviously peel them, dice them up, season them. So I'll just put like salt and then butter. You're supposed to melt the butter like in a measuring cup, and melt the butter in the microwave for a little bit and then pour it over the potatoes. I don't want an extra dish to wash, so sometimes I just cut up the butter so it's less dish, and I don't really notice that huge of a difference. But melt the butter or put the butter on top and season it with just salt. Then cover it in foil, and I cover it and I put it in the oven at like 395 or so for about, I would say, 30 minutes. And then I after 30 minutes, I go ahead and mix. After mixing, pop the aluminum foil, pop the foil back on, and I put it in the oven for an additional 25 minutes or so. So it takes a good 45 to 50 minutes, I would say. Again, it doesn't cook all the way, at least not to my liking. I really like them a little bit crispy. So basically, what prepping the potatoes does is it reduces, first of all, you only have to wash dishes and peel and do all that once. That's what I really like about the system, is the cleanup. But on the day of, then you just can, it takes very little time to crisp them up. So for example, I used part of the potatoes for breakfast on Thursday. So, because Thursday is the day I like to mix in potatoes and eggs. And I got some of the potatoes that I had already pre made, put a skillet with some oil and lightly crisped up the potatoes. And it took, I don't know, 3 to 4 minutes. Then added the bacon, added the eggs, scrambled it up, and I had breakfast burritos. So it was perfect. It was easy. And it was something that didn't take a lot of extra time during the week when I'm more pressed for time and I'm in a hurry, especially during the mornings when it's school and we have a bunch of school things to get. Oh, I have a time, we have to be at school by 8. And so this is why, another reason why I like this system. So usually I just put salt. Sometimes I do garlic salt, something that really also works well with potatoes and has a really good taste. I'm not sure why, but it's total seasoning or seasoning total in Spanish. I don't know why, but it really has this good flavor that I like to put sometimes. But usually I just keep it neutral and depending on what I want to cook that week. That way it doesn't like alter whatever dish I'm deciding to cook. But definitely, seasoned potatoes need a lot of seasoning, more than you think. I also like to meal prep ground beef. This is about 3 pounds. This is perfect for our family size. I always like to buy, so I switch off between ground beef one week, rotisserie chicken, a couple rotisserie chickens another week. And I like to ground beef is perfect to make many different recipes for, and it's so easy. I just pop this on a skillet, and I have my handy dandy ground beef smasher thing that was, I don't know, maybe $5 on Amazon, and this just smashes the ground beef perfectly. It takes it takes very little time to cook up, very little effort. I keep the seasonings neutral at the beginning when I'm cooking, just salt and pepper. And then, depending on when I decide to make whatever dish for the week. So, for example, we use this with spaghetti. I believe it was spaghetti. And then I'll add like the day of, I'll pop that back up in a skillet. I'll add Italian seasoning because the ground beef is already cooked up. So the day that you're going to make it, for example, spaghetti, pop it back in the skillet, add whatever seasoning. If you're going to make it Italian seasoning. If you're going to make it Mexican, add, your uh, the taco seasoning, whatever it is, and then proceed with whatever dish you're going to make it with. Then that's what I like to do. And it takes, again, very little time because the meat is already cooked. And so you're only really putting stuff together for dinners. Now, I like to cook this on the stovetop. I think I tried maybe one time in the crock pot. I don't know how I don't even remember how that turned out. That was a couple years ago. I don't remember. But it doesn't take too long. It's another dish. But again, ground beef is something, it goes a long way and it makes so many meals. So I love to have some ground beef portioned out for meal prepping.
I was at the wrong place at the right time. 'Cause suddenly there you were with those bright blue eyes. We were conversing under the night sky. When you took my hand, said let's leave now. Don't wanna be shy. I will let my guard down. Don't wanna be shy.
Next up, I'm putting together some burritos. So we had some leftover rice and beans and some carne asada that we grilled up on the weekend. So what I'm doing is we don't really want a plate anymore because that's usually what we'll have at the beginning of a meal. So we'll have the carne asada, the rice, and the beans. And then if you don't really like leftovers, kind of think of another way to assemble your meal that's not the plate but has the same ingredients. So, for example, that would be carne asada burritos. So I went ahead and heated up some tortillas. I added some rice and some beans from the leftovers that we had. I chopped everything up and I assembled burritos for my older son. One of my older sons, he eats a lot and he has like 3 or 4 lunches, dinners, and I'm always cooking for him. My family size, we are a family size of 6. I have a 21-year-old boy, 16-year-old boy, 6-year-old boy, and then the princess 4-year-old girl. And so we're a huge family, and there's a lot of boys in the family. And if you have boys in your family, one thing you probably already know is they like to eat, and they eat a lot. You can't just throw a girl dinner together. They need like a protein, sides, and then you can't just have one lunch. They have multiple lunches, dinner, cereal after dinner, late night snack. It goes on. So, what I like to do for my 16-year-old son, because his schedule is quite different than the rest of the family, he has practices that run late sometimes or games, and he doesn't get home at the same time every single day, depending if it's baseball season or not. So I prep some food for him in some meal prep containers. They're from Amazon, they're wonderful. And I just have it ready for him in the fridge. And so he can just pop it out and put it in the microwave or heat it up whenever he's ready to eat or whenever he's hungry. So, for example, I'll prep up like burritos for him. I'll put in a couple, like make leftover plate, pop that into the Tupperware. And so he has little containers that he can just pop in whenever he's hungry. As for breakfast, I definitely make sausage and bacon every single week. We have that with waffles and bacon or pancakes and sausage, or I chop it up and I put it in breakfast burritos or on the side. So this we go through very easily. And I just pop these in the air fryer. This you can also do the oven. I didn't have any more space to do these in the oven, but that works out really well. The bacon does in the oven really well. You just put some parchment paper down and then you put the bacon into strips. I just throw it in the air fryer because we don't really need strips. I have to cut it. And so it cooks up evenly. It's perfect. And the sausage, you just have to switch it out and rotate it midway through, and it comes out perfectly. Now, here I am finishing up assembling all of the food, and I put it in clear glass containers. I love these. I got these years ago on Amazon. But the key is to be sure you put it in clear containers so you remember what you cooked and you see everything in your fridge. Once everything is cooked, I let it cool completely, and I like to separate the proteins, the breakfast items, the potatoes. This makes it super easy to grab what you need during the week. And again, this turns into actual meals. So, ground beef, you can use it for tacos, for bowls, for pasta. So, during the week, if you want to use it and you're craving pasta, go ahead and ground the beef, add the Italian seasoning. All you need to do is boil up pasta, and you have dinner ready in less than 20 minutes. Here are the potatoes. I crisp them up. It takes 3 to 4 minutes to crisp them up. Add them for breakfast, dinner, a lunch potato bowl with taco meat, and you have a quick and easy meal in less than 10-15 minutes. During the week is when I make the sides like rice or beans or a pasta, and it takes so much less time because I have all of my proteins already ready. And it also reduces a lot of the mess in the kitchen that you have to deal with that you really don't want to clean up after a full day of work. So that's an also bonus. I love this little cheese grater machine. It works so well. It's a lot of setup. That's the only part I probably don't like about it because you have to kind of assemble it and put it together. But once it's together, the cheese just grates so easily and so quick. I did a whole 16-ounce block of cheese in, I don't know, minutes, 5 minutes for the 2 blocks of cheese, less than that. It takes more time to put it together than it does to actually grate all of the cheese. So if you are tired, if you hate shredding cheese, then go ahead and pick this little gadget up. This is used every single week. Now you can go ahead and buy shredded cheese at the store, and I have that too as a backup in case I don't have this shredded up. But there is a difference in shredding your own cheese. And with this gadget, it makes it so much easier, and you'll want to do it because it's so easy. It's not such a chore. It doesn't even take any muscle work or anything. And I put them in these containers. They're Rubbermaid containers. I love these as well. And these are airtight. Like these would be good actually for the freezer as well. I know I saw some people use these for the freezers because it's airtight. Like you put the lid on, it's actually kind of hard to take the lid off. And that's how you know that it's super airtight. And here's where I put in those containers, I put all of my like deli stuff and cheeses. So I'll use one for ham, I'll use another one for like turkey, for lunch meats, and then for cheeses, we'll have definitely Monterey Jack and then maybe a cheddar. I also put the breakfast items in there. So I'll put bacon and sausage once it's cooled. I'll go ahead and put those in the containers, and that I keep all together in my fridge in the deli drawer. That is it. A full week of food prepped in one system. This takes probably an hour to an hour and a half each week, not that long, and it has saved me so much time, especially during busy weeks with kids, sports, and everything else going on.